We invite you to explore the fascinating realm of Victorian postmortem photography in Beyond the Veil, a custom that arose from sentimentality, necessity, and the intricacy of Victorian mourning culture. The idea of taking pictures of the dead may seem macabre and even disturbing at first. The transparency with which the Victorians handled mortality may seem strange to us now, in a time when death is frequently concealed from view and the mourning process is marketed. Death is often hidden away in the shadows of hospitals and hospices in today's society. We accept loss with calm composure, protecting ourselves from the depth of our sorrow and the gravity of saying goodbye. However, death was accepted and welcomed throughout the Victorian era, rather than being a taboo to be avoided. Death was a constant part of existence in the 19th century. Victorian civilization was plagued with death due to the high death rates, especially among newborns and children. A variety of causes contributed to deaths during the Victorian era, including industrial accidents, infectious infections, difficult deliveries, starvation, heart disease, respiratory disorders, and mental health problems. Mourning traditions were complicated and lengthy, often lasting for years. Black clothing, mourning ornaments, and memorial rites were customary. But when death came to a Victorian home, people found comfort in keeping their loved ones' memories alive. Postmortem photography was born as a result. Photographers used a variety of methods to give postmortem photographs a realistic aspect. The deceased's natural position was supported by props like stands and braces. To support the deceased in a natural-looking position, photographers often used posing stands or braces hidden behind the subject or beneath their clothing. These supports helped to maintain the appearance of vitality and lifelikeness in postmortem portraits. A wide range of chairs, benches, and other furniture items that may be used as props in after-death photos were usually available in Victorian studios. The deceased may be lying down on a couch or on a chair, lending the composition a cozy, familiar atmosphere. In postmortem photos, fabric curtains or drapes were often used as backgrounds or to frame the subject. These accessories gave the composition more visual appeal and gave the picture a feeling of depth and dimension. Occasionally, pillows or cushions were used to keep the deceased's head or body in a comfortable position, especially if they were reclining or lying down when they were photographed. Post-mortem pictures appeared more calm and natural because of the use of these props. Toys, rattles, or other remembrances may be used as props in post-mortem images of babies or children to give a feeling of innocence and youth. These props were loving reminders of the lives and youth of the departed. Victorian post-mortem photography frequently used floral bouquets, wreaths, and other arrangements as props, signifying beauty, remembrance, and the passing essence of life. In order to give the composition a feeling of grace and elegance, flowers were frequently placed around the corpse or carried in their hands. In general, these accessories contributed to the realism and emotional resonance of Victorian postmortem photos, enabling families to respectfully and dignifiedly retain the memories of their lost loved ones. Death masks were made from wax. Dead people's cut hair was arranged and worn in lockets and rings, and funeral-related imagery and symbols were portrayed in sculptures and paintings. Yet souvenirs of death photographic portraiture began to appear in the mid-1800s as photography gained popularity and became more affordable. The location of the photography studio, the photographer's experience level, and the particular services the customer wanted all had a direct effect on the post-mortem photography cost. Due to the additional time and props needed to prepare and compose the shot, as well as the delicate nature of the subject matter, post-mortem photography was typically more expensive than standard portraiture. In the Victorian era, the cost of a post-mortem photograph may range from a few shillings to several pounds, depending upon the image's dimensions, compositional complexity, and any extra retouching or retouching the customer required. The expenditure of postmortem photography was enormous for many families, particularly those with very little money, but many felt it was worth it to keep their loved ones' memories alive. Based on historical data on inflation, £5 in the Victorian era might be worth several £100s now, depending on the year and rate of inflation. So definitely not cheap for the average person of the era. Victorian postmortem photography has a very profound and beautiful message behind it. During a time when death was a constant threat and mortality rates were high, families treasured every second they spent with their loved ones. They found comfort in keeping the memory of their loved one in an earthly and lasting form when death finally came calling. The depth of Victorian families' love and devotion for their departed loved ones is shown in their willingness to devote significant financial and emotional resources to taking postmortem photos. These families understood the need to honor and remember their loved ones in a dignified and respectful way, despite the pain and sorrow that came with their loss. There were many superstitions associated with this peculiar ritual, some of which I would like to highlight. Mirrors were often covered or oriented towards the wall to keep the deceased soul from straying because it was thought that they may capture the soul. It was believed that opening windows in a room where someone had passed away would permit their soul to effortlessly go to the hereafter. White lilies were frequently used in funeral bouquets and were frequently connected to death. It was believed that honoring the dead and preventing bad luck for oneself required wearing black clothing and performing mourning rituals for a prolonged period of time. It was common to travel a roundabout route to the cemetery and take an alternate way home, since it was thought that the deceased spirit would follow the funeral procession. In order to save the deceased spirit from becoming imprisoned in the body, it was essential to close their eyes as soon as they passed away. Myths around candles. A candle left burning after a death was thought to draw spirits. After talking about something sad or macabre, folks would knock on or touch wood to ward off death or bad luck. The Victorians' deeply rooted beliefs about death, the afterlife, and the importance of rituals and customs in dealing with death are revealed by these superstitions. Because of the extended shutter speed moments required by photography technology at the time, it made it hard for subjects to smile naturally. Somber expressions are commonly seen in portraits of children taken during the era, contributing to the stereotype that these kids were always depressed. Moreover, Victorian society valued decorum and stoicism, particularly in formal settings, which would have added to the somber expression frequently observed in portraits. In the end, Victorian postmortem photography is an emotional symbol of the strength of love and remembrance that never fades. It demonstrates the common human need to cling to the memories of the people we have lost, to preserve their legacy, and to take comfort in the understanding that they will always have a special place in our hearts. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Subscribing is completely free and it really helps us out, so you can stay updated with our future videos.